About 4 years ago, I and my ex, Eva, were dating. Nothing was unusual about our relationship. We were happy and rather spontaneous until my grandfather died. I knew his health was deteriorating and was preparing for it, but it just hurt so bad to see his last hours in pain. He was my best friend as a child, and we always hung out with each other. In fact, we share the same name, so he would always joke that I was a mini-him. I was not in a good place mentally after his death. I became distant and cold, and unfortunately that affected my relationship. I pushed away Eva, and as a result, she had an emotional affair with one of her childhood friends. She did not want to be labeled as a cheater, so she decided to leave me in pursuit of this new guy. Losing my grandpa and my girlfriend was really devastating, and if not for my best friend and family, I wouldn't have been there today. Another thing about my grandpa's death is that he was quite rich. He divided his money and assets between his 2 sons and 4 grandkids. I received a hefty sum along with one of his houses, which I moved into. It's a beautiful 7-bedroom house, and I live there alone with my 2 dogs. With the money I inherited, I bought 2 more properties in which I am renting out. While I am not rich, I am definitely living comfortably. Now, one of my acquaintances, Jake, is living in one of my properties with his family and posted it on social media and tagged me. In the comments, when people were asking about the house, he said, "I rented it from my name." Now, Jake is mutuals with Eva, so she saw the post. She texted me out of nowhere asking how life was treating me and so on. I was a bit skeptical, but just took it as catching up. Eva then sent me Jake's pic and asked me some questions about the house and if I had any more. I thought she was interested in real estate, so I told her the details. She asked me if she could move into one of my houses. I apologized and told her no because I did not have enough space for her, as Jake and his family were the last ones to grab it. She then asked if she could move in with me. She knows about my grandfather's house because when she told me she was going to leave me, I did everything in my power to stop it, including showing her pictures of the house, saying we could move into the house together. I was initially going to decline, but she told me she had rent money, so I told her to wait a bit before I made a decision. I called up Jake and asked him how Eva's personality was, as I haven't heard from her in around 4 years, and he said she was alright but could get rather aggressive and rude if she didn't get her way. He also mentioned that she was pregnant and the child's father recently kicked her out after having an affair with another man. That was a no-go for me, because I've heard of too many men getting stuck with child support for a kid that isn't his merely because they acted as a father during pregnancy, after birth. I'm not willing to become a father figure to a child whose mother had an emotional affair after one of the more traumatic moments of my life. I told her this, and initially, she was trying to convince me to get back with her and become a father to her kid. But when I declined, she got really rude, saying things like, "You're really going to leave a pregnant woman homeless in a pandemic?" And, "A real man wouldn't do this." I was going to block her, but then her text really struck a nerve. She said, "If you're really a Catholic like you claimed, you would be willing to forgive, forget, and move on. You said you loved me, back when we were dating, and now it's time to show it." I don't know what to do. On one hand, I do feel bad for her being homeless and pregnant in a pandemic. I heard it's getting tough to find a job, place to live. But on the other hand, I can't stand to be insulted, and her trying to tell me what a real man, Catholic, would do. Not only that, but I'm not interested in being the father to some random man's kid. What should I do? Nope, 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 nope. Stick to your guns. Your gut feeling is 100% right. She's just trying to manipulate you and came at it from an angle that she knew would get to you. You being a good Catholic man has nothing to do with not wanting to put yourself into an unhealthy situation with what sounds like a very pushy person. You're doing the right thing. Don't let someone make you feel like you're the only one who can save them. I'm sure she can find another option that isn't making your home an uncomfortable place to be and taking advantage of your generosity. My husband and I have been married 5 years. For the last 2 years, his brother has lived with us, rent-free, despite the original agreement being no longer than 6 months. I'm at my wit's end and could really use objective advice. Brother-in-law first moved in after he and his girlfriend broke up. Long story short, she was paying for everything, so when they split, he had nothing. No job, no money, no car, nothing. He moved in with several garbage bags full of clothes and a couple of boxes of other things. He didn't even have his own sheets to give some perspective. In the last year, the situation has gone from annoying to nearly intolerable. Our guest room, or what he refers to as his room, is always filthy, dirty clothes all over, soda cans, food wrappers, and it stinks. He holes up in there for hours playing video games and browsing the internet, sometimes only coming out to use the bathroom or get something to eat. His computer wasn't working for a while over the summer, so he'd go into the office to use our older desktop once in a while. This is how I found out he reads and participates in what I consider hateful and demeaning subreddits. Apparently, he also poses as at least 2 different people online. One account seems to be him, someone his age, but circumstances are different. In the other, he claims to be a married man in his late 30s. He also visited some disturbing blogs, stuff I don't want accessed using my property or Wi-Fi. I was highly disturbed and told my husband about it. And what do you know? A week later, mother-in-law suddenly had the money to help him get his laptop fixed. He often tags along when he knows my husband is going to the convenience store, then slips his stuff, usually beer, soda, and candy, onto the counter without a word. We have an older, third car that he drives until the gas is empty. Then it's back to holding up in the room 24/7 until my husband happens to fill it up again. He always claims he's looking for work or putting in applications, but nothing ever comes of it. There's always an excuse, and he's always the victim. Someone else got the job because of X, Y, or Z. He actually did get hired for a seasonal position at a retail store this year, but never went back after orientation because the manager was nicer to the 2 women she hired. Of course, he made it sound like it was a serious discrimination incident. It wasn't. I've talked to my husband about this situation more times than I can count. He feels bad because he doesn't have anywhere else to go, apparently. He's not welcome at mother-in-law's because there have been issues between brother-in-law and their stepdad. His only friends nearby are married or in relationships, so he can't stay with them. During one particularly heated argument, I suggested a shelter, and my husband said he couldn't do that to his brother. I say he's doing it to himself by refusing to work or contribute. I want to resolve this before I become more resentful towards my husband. Everyone I've talked to has said I need to give him an ultimatum, but I'm not sure I want to go that route, yet. I'm hoping someone here can advise on how to talk to my husband to help him understand how this has affected me. He wants to have a baby, but I'm not willing to even consider trying until brother-in-law is out. I hate to hold that over his head, and I want to start our family, but not with a dirty freeloader, with some questionable views, living here. How should I approach this with my husband so he understands? Do you think I should reach out to mother-in-law? Talking to brother-in-law directly isn't going to work. He basically runs to my husband claiming I was a B to him. I've always been polite. Anyone who tells brother-in-law anything he doesn't want to hear is just being mean. He's actually caused a few fights between us by doing this, so I'm not willing to talk to him alone. You should take a week off, go to a hotel, a friend's, family, whatever. Just let your husband see what his alternative is. I'm not saying get divorced. I'm not even saying threaten it. But take a break from the house so your husband can see the road he's heading down. You've already talked to him. Nobody here can give you the magic words to make him understand. He's not budging yet. Maybe this will be a nice wake-up call. My wife and I got married 7 years ago, and she had 2 children from a previous relationship. We have a good relationship with the kids' dad, mainly because I have made it a priority to build that relationship. I treat the kids like my own. In fact, this is one of the few times in our time knowing each other, almost 9 years in total including dating, that I have ever used the term stepchildren. There was an event last night that kicked this off. My wife has just started back to work after 15 years out of the workforce. She has a part-time job doing accounting, but at times, like when doing month-end, it takes a great deal of work. So my wife had a long day yesterday and was really tired. I did everything I could to help. I rushed home from work a little early to do the ballet carpool. I ordered takeout and got our son to pick it up, handled cleaning up and dealing with the dogs. Then I went to my office to get a little work done. To add to the stress, my mother-in-law is in town, which doesn't bother me near as much as it does my wife. Around 10 p.m., I start getting ready for bed, and I hear my daughter yelling at her grandmother. As an aside, the kids always act like demons when my wife's parents are around, partly because they are so permissive of everything. So anyway, I go upstairs, and my daughter is on the bed crying and screaming about how she won't wear the tan skirt to school, with my mother-in-law saying, "It's okay, it's nice." My wife is nowhere to be seen, taking a bath, and so my assumption is that my wife told her she was wearing the skirt, and so she was flipping out and going off on her grandmother for it. This isn't unheard of, unfortunately. I didn't lose my cool. I just said, "You will wear the tan skirt, now stop acting foolish." Being a preteen, she yells back, "I'm not a fool." And I say, "I never said you were a fool. I said you were acting foolish." Anyway, a little more of this back and forth, and I head downstairs, because I know when we are in an unwinnable standoff. My mother-in-law said something else, and my daughter screamed at her, so I told her to come downstairs. I was sending her to talk to her mom. She refused and starts saying things to my mother-in-law that makes it sound like she is scared that I will hit her. This made me mad. I have never laid a hand on either kid. Never. And this is exactly the kind of thing we told them never to do in front of the grandparents. I told her a few more times to come downstairs. She refused. I counted to 10. Nothing. At this point, I just shrugged, decided to take away TV and electronics for a week, and took the dogs outside. I come back in, and my wife is in the foyer yelling at me. "I'm tired and you people are doing all this yelling." Ironic, I know. I tried to explain, and she just keeps yelling that I have no right to even go upstairs, and I shouldn't be trying to parent. This pisses me off. I've been their dad for almost 8 years now. I pay for almost everything. I have the right to parent. Then she crawls into bed with my daughter, curls up with her, and keeps yelling at me about how I was wrong. At this point, I'm mad, and I said something about how my wife never wants to deal with the issues with the kids, and with me standing next to my mother-in-law downstairs, she screams that I never want to deal with my weight and calls me fat. I am, about 290 pounds, but I've been doing keto and working hard at it, and that is down from 315 pounds. That really hurt, especially to say in front of everyone. So I did the wrong thing. I turned to my mother-in-law and said, "This is why your daughter is probably going to be twice divorced." Yeah, harsh, I know. Then I go to bed and lock the door. My wife, of course, comes and starts pounding on the door. I eventually let her in, and she starts going off on me again. The whole time she has the chocolate ball in her hand, like she is trying to screw with me. I tried to grab it and just ended up slapping it out of her hand. This is when she lost it, screaming at me. I tried to just roll over and go to sleep. She ripped the covers off of the bed and threw the entire glass of water on me. I was livid and grabbed the cup out of her hand, and then she slapped me. I threw the cup down and it shattered, setting off the alarm, glass break sensors, even though it was plastic. While she goes to turn off the alarm, I lock the door and start packing. Her mom comes and tries to talk to me, admitting this was all her fault. You see, it turns out my wife did not tell my daughter to wear the tan skirt. My mother-in-law did, and was just having a good time screwing with the daughter. Anyway, I grab enough clothes to be able to get to work the next day, and about 20 pairs of dress socks. Angry packing is weird packing. I leave without seeing anyone else and go to a hotel for the night. Now I am at work and have no clue what to do. Our situation has been stressful for the past few years because we have some money issues. My wife is a spender. She shops and likes nice things. I would be a saver, but there is nothing to save. This causes a lot of stress and resentment on my part. Her previous divorce and dealing with her ex also causes a lot of stress. The parents cause a lot of stress. Both our sets of parents are older now, and we are dealing with my dad on hospice and her mom having mental issues. My mom and her dad have both had surgery in the past 6 months to remove skin cancer. It's just a crappy time. All this with a preteen and a mouthy teenager, who was surprisingly good last night now that I think of it. This was the worst fight we have ever had, but the same issues of not dealing with the kids' bad behavior, blaming me for everything, especially when the issue is really the kids' bad behavior, have been going on for years. When I booked the hotel room, I thought, this is going to be horrible. I'm not going to be able to sleep, and I will keep thinking about it all night. Nope. Slept like a baby. Was happy to wake up alone in the morning. No drama anywhere around me. I'm just not sure I want to go back. Left to my own devices, I would have money, a good career, and good friends, so I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm almost 50, and I'm throwing what little life I have left away. She invalidates your parenting, makes fun of your weight, both in front of your children. Then she threw water on you and hit you. Dude, she's A. Why stay for this?